Away we go.
Great, thank you, Jean, very much for carving out space and time to have this really, you know, event and for people to gather through our computers and digitally, and creating a community wherever for every individual from different parts of the globe. Or so it'd be nice if you can let us know where you're located. I'm here in Dania Beach, and I'm in my studio currently. I just moved in, like Jean said, to the Gasper Art Center, and it's been great so far. And so it's convenient, and I currently, I'm a painter. Just a background about who I am. I'm a painter. I was born in Colombia, but I was raised in Miami, Florida. And I went to school at Miami-Dade College, and then went to Pratt Institute, and then I went to Southern Illinois University, and now I'm teaching drawing at FIU and art appreciation at Miami-Dade College. But nonetheless, let us know what your name is and where you're located, where you reside, and if you have any experience in art or whatever you want to let us know, that would be great. So let's get started. And today we have, for Drawing on Discovery, we have collage. And, oh, one second, let me see if I can share my screen. Great. Okay. Share. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yep, we see it.
So here we have Hannah Hall, who was a German artist. She used collage in a lot of her work, both to critique the Weimar Republic and also talk about the ideas of gender and sexuality and the hierarchy that she experienced. And I came to know Hannah Hawk because I was at the time studying androgyny and things of that nature to in philosophy, sometimes some philosophers explain the origins of the world as this cosmic sort of construction of male and female. And androgyny was something that was a term used, but has also been used as a way to sort of refer to somebody's identity in terms of their gender identity. Sometimes it's associated with non-binary, but that's a whole another conversation. But nonetheless, let's get started. Okay, great. So what is collage? The word collage means to glue or to stick together, from the French couleur, an artistic composition made of various materials such as paper, cloth, or wood glued on a surface. Where did collage come from, originate from? Before we move on to the next slide, here we have on the right another Hannah Hawk collage. This one is goes by the title "Cut with the Dada Kitchen Knife Through the Last Weimar Beer Belly Cultural Epoch in Germany." And she did in fact use a kitchen knife to cut a lot of these images. She included, as you probably may know, she was part of the Dada movement, which was this art movement in Germany, and it also infiltrated other parts of the world too. Had Berlin Dada, Zurich Dada, but nonetheless, she saw that there was, of course, this was during the war, and so there was a lot of the regime was censoring a lot of artists, and among those things, also too, there was just a lot of chaos and confusion. And I think that she and Hawk at least was trying to portray this solution she and her comrades um, felt while they were pursuing these. So Dada doesn't translate specific to anything. It's just a wordplay on, I mean, poetry as well. But nonetheless, we'll explore that a little bit. later on. But the early precedents originate from the techniques of collage, which were used in China around 200 in BC. It did not arise until the 10th century in Japan when calligraphers began to apply glued paper using text on surfaces when writing their poems. Some surviving pieces in the style are found in the collection at the Nishi Hongan-yi Temple, containing many volumes of the Sanju Rokunin Kashu anthologies of waka poems. Here on the right, we have Kei Lun, who was a Chinese court official who is traditionally credited with the invention of paper and the paper-making process. Although paper existed in China before Kai Lun, since the 2nd century BC, he was responsible for significant improvement and standardization of paper making by adding essential new materials into its composition. He used mulberry trees, bamboo, remnants of hemp, rags of cloth, and fishing nets. He mixed them with water, pounded them with a wooden tool, and then poured this mixture onto a flat piece of coarsely woven cloth, letting the water drain through and leaving only a thin matted sheet of fibers on the cloth. And here we have Qing era print depiction of Kai as the patron of papermaking in the 18th century, and this is reportedly an image of Kai Lun. Okay, so we'll see some examples. I'll show you now of the Sanju Rokunin Kashu anthologies. Here we have is a set of illuminated manuscripts, codex from the early 12th century, containing a collection of waka poems by 36 master poets. They were originally selected for an 11th century anthology known as the Sanju Rokunin Sin by Quinto. So here we have an example. You'll see that some paper is of different types of colors, and they have poetry, the scriptures here on top of the various glued surfaces. But in the 12th century, the poems were transcribed as a compilation for the birthday of the Emperor Toba, consisting of 39 volumes and involving 20 calligraphers. It is the oldest surviving manuscript that contains a collection of 36 poets and is designed as a national treasure and is believed to be the oldest known example of paper marbling. It also contains chigiri, a type of paper collage. Okay, so moving on a little bit further on in history, we have collage and modernism. Again, another hand hawk of collage. Collage was part of a methodical re-examination of the relation between painting and sculpture, and these new works gave each medium some of the characteristics of the other. Hannah Hall appropriated and recombined images and text from mass media to critique popular culture, the failings of the Weimar Republic, and the socially constructed roles of women. She became familiar with knitting, crocheting, and embroidery while working as a designer in Berlin, creating handwork patterns for crafting magazines. Cut and pasted images met elements of the applied arts in her pieces, whether in the needlepoint diagram evoked in Collage 2, or the texture of thread suggested by the flower petals of watch. In these works, Ahag feminizes the Dada movement's engagement with the everyday, appearing craft techniques traditionally seen as women's work, with the avant-garde strategy of photomontage, the cutting and recombining of mechanically reproduced images. Indian Dancer, made in 1930, is probably one of the popular collage that Hannah Hawk created, which generates meanings via an intersection between German mass media and African art. In this hybrid association, Hawk linked the contemporary European female body with an African other. Through the cut and pasted elements of Indian dancer, Hawk assembled references to film, Central African sculpture, and the domestic sphere. Her collage model is the actress Renee Maria Falconetti, also known as simply as Falconetti, appearing in a publicity still for Carl Theodor Dreyer's 1928 film, The Passion of Joan of Arc. Half of Falconetti's face is replaced with the ear, eye, and mouth of a wooden dance mask from Cameroon. And then more recent is German artist Annette Gretz Solto she constructs collage using photographs of her own face and body, stitched with black thread, confronting explicit issues in an imaginative manner. Saltoum's early years were marked by adversity. She had a difficult relationship with her mother and never knew her father, who had died during World War II. Raised by her grandmother, she grew up in poverty on an isolated farm. These early life experiences were to shape her strength, character, and her subsequent convictions as an artist. As another example, SIM card. I am interested, I am interested in how the body and mind are connected, and I seek to think with the body. Through history, I was aware that the woman's body was considered lower and filthier, while the man's mind was considered superior. In philosophy, for example, the woman's body was seen as dirty, therefore she was not granted mental abilities. Okay, and this is the end of my presentation, and you can see that she starts to use employs found objects like the SIM card here, and then she sews it onto a picture of her or a self-portrait, and she's able to engage with the content and conceptually try to build this visual language with her ideas of identity and also to technology as well. So nonetheless, these are the references I have, but I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Let me know if you have any questions so far, or if you want me to go back to specific image. Right. So, if you can see the other screen that I'm sharing, which oh, here it is. This one here. I don't know if you can see that I've already cut some images already that I found. You can really just use whatever. Wait, am I still sharing my screen? Stop sharing. Sorry. Stop sharing. Okay. Great, but as you can probably, I don't know if you should pin the other. Oh, there, yes, that perfect. And just don't mind the cardboard box here. I unfortunately, this have a sort of setup here that I was able to create. But let me show you an example of some of the collages that I've made in the past. So I'll just show you here. I don't know if you can see it, but I've made, so I like to use Canvas for me because, it is archival and it lasts, it can last for some time, but sometimes you have to make sure that you get acid-free paper. I mean, you don't necessarily have to. It's just, it's better to be informed about the different kind of materials that you can use. I think that would be really nice to know, especially if somebody asks you about something. So, but I don't know to be exact which is archival in terms of like the paper clippings that I cut up. So here's one example. I started out with just a canvas. You can use a canvas. Just buy at Michael's or Office Max or Office Depot. And you'll need a glue stick, just a regular glue stick. Elmer's glue stick works fine, or you can use tape. I've seen people, I mean, it depends on what aesthetic experience you want to create for the viewer. We'll need a pair of scissors as well. Just any kind of scissors that you might have. And then I have an X-Acto knife here, which is a cutting tool that I think a lot of, from what I understand in graphic design, when it first started, a lot of graphic designers would cut their images, but nonetheless, from what that's sort of that's how I sort of started. But here you can see that I used acrylic black paint for the background. I was at the time really interested in Carl Jung and psychology. And so I kind of wanted to integrate all these like different features of identity. And so I wanted to portray, this is what I really enjoy about collage is that It's really has images that are representational, but you can combine them to recontextualize meaning and change the meaning of an image just like this one by just cutting other images and combining them together. So I really like arrows a lot. So I wanted to also start thinking about how like the mind kind of starts to reference the outer body or this vessel. But nonetheless, you can really just grab any book, textbook. I like to use a lot of books that are about the life. They really have really good images. Life magazine um, has really notable photographers if you really know. But nonetheless, I just pick these up and I just kind of go walk through them and I kind of cut whatever I really want to sort of what calls me, what I first see. So I like to include a lot of images of animals. I also like diagrams from books of that have to do with
Sebastian,
science. Yes.
somebody's asking if you could show the resource list one more time.
Yes, yes.
And I'm going to say that, we're going to share the PowerPoint as well with everyone who registered. So you'll have that to look at, but there it is.
And great. And like you said, yeah, so general science books also work just fine. I really love the arrows and the text specifically. When it comes to any concept that I sort of start to kind of gravitate towards, I think I just let my imagination just flow and just kind of play with the different images I can sort of gather. I'm really interested in sort of images that have these like letters or arrows or the dimensions or these sort of diagrams that are also articulate like specific scientific sort of processes. So I really like to use, I think you can essentially use any kind of book unless you shouldn't probably use, books. For example, I found one of my mom's an optometrist and she would not be very happy if I cut some of into one of her textbooks. But I'm really interested in these ideas of observation in the eye. So that's really what I have and things like that. But you can use any kind of like story. I mean, I found this patio and stone one that I really just love looking at for some reason backyards and how people decorate their backyard. So I think any kind of book makes it's a good resource and a good reference to use. But nonetheless, if you really want to get for something, for example, something very specific, like I want to cut this I don't know, let's look for something very specific that maybe we can cut. We'll use a X-Acto knife. I don't know how many of you are familiar with X-Acto knives, but you can really just find them anywhere. And you just twist counterclockwise and loosen the grip of the blade, and then you can replace the blade. Just make sure that when you replace the blade, you put it somewhere safe, somewhere where the bag won't cut open or it won't cut anybody else. Typically, you can get like a plastic container and just have that as a place to discard a lot of your blades. That helps as well. But let's look for something that maybe more specifically sort of I don't know, like for example, like this. I really like this image. I'm gonna just rip it. There's other techniques too. You don't have to be so precise, but I really, as you can tell, I really love cutting, making precise incisions in the pieces of paper here. At this example, I also have another sort of collage too that I kind of started to work on, and I really love the way when I rip off the paper. I really love the residue that remains on the canvas. And then I also applied the reason why it's shiny. I don't know if you can really see why it's shiny. It's matte medium, or I think it's matte medium from what I remember, even though or glossy matte medium or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that's what, no, it's actually one of these things that you can apply to really sort of settle the image on. Sometimes it doesn't settle all quite too well, but like GAC Golden, 100 Golden is a really good medium too. If you really want to use that for your collages to sort of give them a really nice sort of a finish to them, make everything look nice and even. You could definitely use something like this, even though it's more for like acrylic primer, but you can really use anything to make your collages. But okay, so I want to show you the image that I sort of ripped from the textbook. And then I kind of cut already some here, as you can probably see. I'm really interested in skulls for some reason. Maybe this memento mori moment that I sort of like to create, but I like eyes as well. So maybe I can go in there. You see how it changes the image already just by kind of incorporating, putting it on top. Um, on top of the skull, it can be, I don't know, ironic or, but I really like limbs as well. So I kind of cut these limbs here, but maybe I'm really interested in these ideas of the commodification of things, but nonetheless, so we have this image here. I really like this sofa here, this recliner sofa thing. So I really wanted to see if I could find. Yes, I really wanted to use this image here. So I want to start to cut and with my technically you should have a self-healing mat underneath. I wish I can have one. I don't know what happened to mine, but nonetheless, that kind of helps the backing to so that your blade doesn't dull as fast and so that you have um a mat that kind of allows for you to cut with more precision. But nonetheless, I really like uh, the furniture here, the wooden sort of legs of the furniture piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut, make some precise incisions here, and I really enjoy sort of cutting through the piece of paper, the magazines, because they just I really there's something very radical for me about sort of cutting and you could also make digital collages as well. That's also another way to work. But for some reason, something about touching the pieces of the magazine clippings and cutting them using my hands and um, kind of applying pressure to ensure that it's all nicely cut. I don't know, for some reason, it's maybe therapeutic, I think. Perhaps it could, one way to sort of consider it for me, at least how I understand it to some extent, but it could be for any, it can mean different things for different people, but for me precisely, it just helps me. I feel like for some reason, I feel like a doctor, like I'm just kind of making incisions onto a body or a flesh or a skin. So that's kind of also very interesting to when
For me, Sebastian, it's very soothing just to watch you making these little precise slices. You know, it's like one of those YouTube videos that you watch to hear the sound of the shushing or whatever. It's very relaxing, very calming.
no, it's definitely very meditative and so I agree. I think it's one of those like on Instagram they have those videos where people are like you said, June, like they're cutting and it makes like these really or with their nails they're like really,
Right. I mean, you know what? There's something out there for everyone, right?
yeah. Yeah, definitely. My blade's a little dull, but I think I'm just gonna have to work through it for now. But we have scissors as well. I use scissors for the most part for areas that are sort of are ambiguous, like landscapes or mountains or things like that I wanna incorporate. So here I have a general idea of,
So,
or the I can cut through the magazine.
so here's an idea for you. Do you have an idea about what you're gonna do right now?
No, not really. I don't really have an idea of what I'm doing. I like looking at images a lot. So whatever captures my attention, like whatever, um,
Oh,
yeah, I sort of look at and grab onto, that holds my attention. I kind of start to integrate, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to include everything that I cut into my collage. Sometimes I cut things and I don't really use them. I just have them there because I just like to pair them up next to each other to see how they sort of look. So that's just one way of how I work, but I mean everybody
yeah, yeah.
but nonetheless, so we have that image, and then now you can also rip things apart, but I also have other images that I really like using, like these diagrams. Oh, I have these here. Let me show you also too that I sort of found two these really interesting transparent sheets of mylar. I think this is mylar. It has
Mhm.
like that are layered on top of the different pages. I don't know if you can see it better, but yeah, but I really enjoy using this as well. You can really do
Oh,
something
nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's like this. I mean, I
Did you
don't know.
steal those from your mom too?
No, these are not. These are just from like biology or science books that I sort of find in Goodwill, like Goodwill for that it's a really good place to go to and scavenge because it's a really
Wow.
good stuff. So you can use really I
That's
like
really
this.
cool. I like that.
Yeah, right. It's like really neat so far. And then so maybe I'll just leave it there. I kind of like what's going on. Maybe I want to cut a little bit more furniture pieces, like the negative spaces here. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to cut the
So does anybody have questions for Sebastian or do they have, I don't know, comments? We can we can open it up. Cause he's just kind of, he's gonna make stuff now and work and you can, you can open up your, oh, Karen likes skulls. You can, turn off your, turn on your mics or turn on your cameras or not, however, or use the chat. Again, however you're comfortable, that's totally fine. Oh, here comes Camille. But, and I can ask some questions too. Now, Sebastian, I know that you're a painter.
Mhm.
You use collage in your regular practice?
Um, not really, not necessarily. I used to when I was in grad school. I did use collage. I don't know. I don't have images of what I made, but I would use, for example, map medium and things like that, and I would add a little bit of acrylic paint,
Yeah.
so that because at the time I was really interested in like Alfred Hitchcock in his films, and I wanted my images to sort of I used a lot of black and white images, and I wanted to kind of convey this vantage point, the viewer's vantage point, as like being confused or this idea of a complexity that we often sort of face. It can be both metaphorical or literally. I guess I was interested in like intersections and um, intersectionality as it considers like somebody's identity and what the challenges that they face as being who they are. So I was combining different things together, and I oftentimes find it hard to sort of simplify my concepts. So I don't really, for the most part, I don't. I will say though, however, that um, in my painting practice now, I do tend to build my visual language through this idea of like fragmentation, like symbols. Like I try to much like in collage, like the examples that I showed you. I like to in my painting practice paint iconography, like develop personal iconography that
Mhm.
sort of relates to the collage symbols that one sort of chooses. They're sort of cutting out and pasting them onto a surface. I think about it in those terms, like, but I don't necessarily literally like in collage any images in my paintings.
Right.
If anything, I kind of combine different symbols, which is kind of a form of collage, but it's not really, really.
Right. Not exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah. But I was excited when you said you wanted to talk about collage for this, just the fundamentals of it and introducing it. Because of
Yeah.
course it's, it's something that we talk about a lot at collaboARTive. And it's something that I like to introduce to people as a way to kind of open up their creativity. because it's so user friendly, right? I mean, it's very tactile. You can be so imaginative and just kind of, there's no rules, you know? I mean, maybe there are rules to collage, but when you're looking at surrealist work like you were showing us, Hannah Hawk, it's
Mhm.
really hard to see rules there because she really was sort of she was breaking rules, right?
Yeah.
Talking about things that weren't supposed to be talked about. Um, and
Yeah.
it, in a way that was, I don't know, mysterious and and coded, I guess, in a way. So I
That's
think that
good.
you have work that sometimes deals with those kinds of topics. And so I thought it was great that you would want to talk about collage because there is a lot of symbolism and you're, I don't know, like your work, people on this group know that I struggle constantly with making simple images. I always say I'm gonna make, you always look at these great collage uh compositions, right? And it's like three little pieces of paper and it looks amazing and you're like, wow, that looks awesome. I can't do that. I strive to be minimalist in my collages, but instead there's like 8,000 pieces of paper in my collage and it's covered and it's layered and there's all this stuff going on. Um, I think that you managed to do both things in your paintings. Your paintings are very layered with paint and colors and you've got a lot of things going on, but they're also very simple, right?
Yeah. 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 Very simple.
So it's fun to see the collages that you've done also have that kind of approach. Like, you showed us ones that you worked on. They're all very simple and figurative, and it kind of speaks to the work that you make.
Yeah,
I like
definitely.
it.
I can
I
see that
like it.
more. It's nice that you point that out because I also just noticed it now that I look at the collages that I have here and then that I made it, I think it was last year, but then look at my paintings now, they are sort of similar in many ways. I mean, the reason why I started to make collages was because I really wanted to, they're like sketches in some way or another.
Mhm.
Most part they were, the two black ones that I showed, those were sketches for paintings. I was thinking of scanning the collages and then uh, painting the collages, like projecting them onto a bigger, because I like to paint large scale paintings, and
Yeah.
I wanted to translate those collages into paintings. And I fortunately didn't end up doing that, but to some extent, I did somehow go back to these iconography, like this. I don't know how to describe it, like this cut and paste sort of like the way I sort of relate it to my work now is if like icons, like pictograms on your phone
Hmm.
see on your phone. I think about my paintings now like that, like pictograms. Like these are just personal pictograms that I create, much like you can text someone a happy face or something of that nature, almost like hieroglyphs. So trying to sort of combine that visual language and painting. But that's where I started first with the collages, just trying to create this sort of narrative just using just images, found images from Goodwill that I would just a book in books in Goodwill that I just found. But let me see, I need to look for more stuff. So I often also
While you do that, I'm gonna remove this probably. I'm gonna ask the group here if anyone has thought of doing that with collage, using it as a resource for making a larger work. I don't know that I've thought about that. Um,
yeah,
and I think that's a pretty interesting way to kind of approach, I mean, collage as like a sketch, a source of something else.
it
I wonder
can
if
be.
anybody here has done that.
Yeah, collage also can be to a final work of art too, as well. Like
Well,
the
yeah.
ones that I have, these are, although they are sketches, I still consider them as like works of art because they hold my attention. I'm really interested in repetition and rhythm, and I really wanted to create something, a design where I had multiple figures, multiple like whether male figures or female figures. I really wanted the proportions of each to be something that was indicative and like a specific sort of visual sort of element in the work. I really wanted that, and the arrows as well, and also too how we see color. I mean, these are the way in which color sort of refracts. But yeah, I guess a lot of things, you can think about when you're making collages, just whatever you can think of, you can sort of include in your collage, and you can really just find it, it's a lot of fun to go to Goodwill and just find books that people, discarded books that nobody else would, you know, don't have any need for or use it for a specific purpose. Like they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yep,
So I
we
feel
know
like
that.
people,
I noticed Giselle turned on her camera. Do you have something you want to say, or are you just showing us your lovely face? Giselle? Nope, nothing to say. Oh, she's frozen.
Oh, no, I mean, I just, well, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, now we hear you.
Okay. While you were, while Sebastian was doing his presentation, because I'm at work,
Right.
so I didn't, I got information about this literally earlier today. So I scrambled around trying to find supplies. So I have my office scissor, my office scissor. I happen to have a glue stick in my drawer. And then I found one magazine
Right. Well, that's all you
here in
need.
the office. And then I started going through it to try to see what I could do with it and came up with some just crazy collage thing.
That's all you need. That's
Oh,
all
and I
you.
found a gold marker.
Oh, I
oh,
love
yeah,
that.
you can use
Gold
that.
markers are good.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So yeah, so it's just interesting, what I have found with collaging that sometimes it's just, as Sebastian was saying, sometimes you find something and sometimes you got to work with what you have, but that's kind of fun to try to figure it out. So I did do something. So when you were talking about surrealism, I laughed because this is what I did.
Oh my gosh. Ah,
Nice. That's really
very cool. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So it was funny that I found that word surreal and I was like, well, there you go. Everything in
Yeah.
here is pretty surreal.
Yeah.
it's
Well,
So
really
that's
it's kind of
nice.
a silly little collage thing, but yeah, something I threw together. But no,
Yeah.
but I love the idea of finding like old images like what Sebastian is showing us. I think that's so neat. Um, like if you can get like books, old books with like uh, old anatomy, like old anatomy books that have like skulls and organs and things like that. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, those are
glad
really
you got to join us here.
oh, yeah, no, and the good thing about collage, like Giselle was saying, you can really just do it anywhere. Like you can just, be anywhere and just do, you don't really have to have any, go out and just buy any art materials. These are, I guess, materials that are sort of unconventional in some respect. I think, especially when you start thinking about like art appreciation and the canon, like like in the in classes where they teach you about art, they also talk about the canon and these standards of beauty that were sort of seen in like the art world back in, a couple of years back, where it kind of restricted certain artists because they weren't using materials that were specifically for art. So for the most part, collage was sort of resided outside of the fringes of the canon of art and aesthetics. But I think that all changed with the way in which a lot of people, it's very controversial to say this, but a lot of people think that it started with Braque and Picasso, but other artists, other people think it started way back, very long time ago with Gao Sung and his poetry, his poems, and paper making processes. But it's just very content, like very sort of the lines sort of blur of who was the first ones to sort of
Yeah,
use collage. But nonetheless,
I had never seen those before, the Kai Su works. They're really beautiful
yeah, they're really nice,
for
especially
sharing.
the color and the paper and the. I'm really interested, drawn to sort of calligraphy and text, whether it's from you know calligraphy from Japan or just random texts that are from Armenia or things that are sort of things that I don't really understand uh, linguistically. Like I don't know what it says, but something is very foreign, and I really kind of for some reason I tend to gravitate towards that. But it's really interesting to see at least what the some of like the precedents of collage are. So I mean, and then how it's evolved now. People do make digital collages as well, so that's also something that people kind of develop in the practice too. But then some, I remember seeing this show at the Brooklyn Museum. The Brooklyn Museum. It was by Wingeki
Oh,
Muto, and she
yeah.
is a really sort of exceptional artist. She, made collages. She also made public sculptures. I think at the Met, I forgot the name of the sculptures themselves, but they're these beautiful sort of hybrids of both anatomical sort of forms and then also to like or more organic sort of animal like creatures, like mythological creatures. She combines that, but that's where I first saw her collages. And if you've seen her work, it's a very much fluid, very organic. She's talking about identity as well, because a lot of her sort of characters are these female, I think here heroines and things like that. And she kind of combines and she paints on top of them as well. So you can do a whole lot with collage. You can really kind of paint, which you can use acrylic paint to kind of glue a lot of these things together. Actually, which is what I really want to do next. Is just can I start gluing this together? So maybe we can just start working on that. So I kind of have my sort of, if anything, I'm going to start gluing the eye to the skull. I kind of like that sort of. The good thing about it is that you don't really have to sort of commit to it right away. You can just kind of
Yeah. And I added a link to the Wangechi Mutu at the Brooklyn Museum. It's from 2014, but it shows the collage work that you probably are referencing. Her work is amazing, and it's very large work, like 91 inches by 54 inches. I mean, really, really large work. So, the link is there when you want to, if you get a chance, you can look at it. But yeah, she's a favorite of mine. I'm so glad you mentioned her. She's definitely a favorite.
yeah, no, it's really neat to, because I think she even includes hair and things like that. So this is really sort of pushing the boundaries of art making. I think it's definitely what one of the things I appreciate from her work is that she's sort of trying to reconsider the idea of collage, not as like this gendered sort of practice, but more so like this approach of trying to use these images as a way to kind of create a narrative and a story, as a way to kind of talk about the idea of like identity as this fragmentation, like this identity as this constant fragmenting of yourself with other sort of individuals, but also your identity in terms of like maybe postmodern identity, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
thinking that one day you can sort of be, or through like not fashion, but through sort of being able to take on these multiple roles in like in the world that we live in today. One day you can be, I don't know, I at least feel like you can sort of take on these different roles. At least that's sort of the concept that I
Yeah.
kind of was
And
trying
she's
to.
Kenyan, so there's got to be some political commentary in there as well, because they've had a lot of changes in, uh, in how their country is run and how that affects who they are. And yeah, a lot of the work that she makes is about just the existence of being a woman in this world, but I know that there are other underlying themes in the work. I just really appreciate her work.
um,
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, and something that I like about collage is that it's just all these images, like the idea of just trying to recycle too is also a really good sort of kind of like a concept I think nowadays that we sort of see um artists kind of using and employing in their work, like these modes of recycling and recontextualizing, reappropriating images
Oh,
as a way to kind of sustain their practice. So their
yeah.
practice is very
Yeah, and
sustainable.
repurposing materials and all of that. So yeah, that's true. It is maybe that's why collage is, really becoming popular again, because of the way that it repurposes materials. It's so important now. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Because it
Yeah.
seems like for a while, collage wasn't like a thing. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it just wasn't in my radar. I don't know. But now I just feel like I see collage everywhere now. I don't
Yeah.
know. I wonder if everybody here in the group has that same experience. If it's like now it's more popular, or has it just always been around? Have I just been completely living under a rock?
Mm. No, and
Oh,
we have
what you got there?
opportunity. Oh, what's that?
I'm looking at your book.
Oh yes, this is a book that I'm going through so that I'm trying to see what I like arrows. I really like arrows. So you can find books about pretty much anything that you're interested in. But I was going to say about collage itself. We are creatures of observation. Like we like to look at things, right? We're constantly is our eyes are constantly sort of making sense of things that we're looking. And I think collage sort of speaks on that. I think on another level where like painting necessarily does as well, but just maybe in a different way. I think that collage also too kind of allows us to sort of look at these images that so for some reason hold our attention and we could incorporate into our work of art. And someone that for I can speak for myself, like I really like looking at sort of images, like any images or things that point me like are telling me something. I really sort of like when I look at a work of art and it tells me something about myself, like immediately. It's something that sticks out immediately, I think is really important. And it's something that only occurs in the first few seconds when I'm looking at the image. So if I look at an image and I kind of second guess whether I want to use it, then I maybe um, you keep it for another day and
Hmm.
or put it to the side, store it, and then maybe come back to it if it holds my attention with another image and pair it up with like another image. But for the most part,
Yeah.
I usually tend to just like go for things that I immediately sort of find interesting that sort of starts to speak on these ideas of like selfhood or being or all these ideas of I think it's the juxtaposition between the individual and the environment. I think that's something that's always been relevant in my work is those two entities and how they sort of interact with each other, like how people are shaped by the natural environment and how the constructed environment shapes individuals. I think that dichotomy is something that I was sort of been interested in work and in other people's work as well. Like when I look at other artworks, I kind of like when they sort of treat the idea of identity, which everyone I think could relate to some extent or another. But so I really love looking at books. So I really love getting books that have images. I think for the most part, I really like getting textbooks that have images, whether they're sort of drawn for photographs. I just love looking at images, especially like I said, animals here. So this is really starting to speak to me on an interesting level.
It's funny. Annie has a comment here. She says that, she loves, she loves having old books too. The problem is they usually end up on her shelf instead of being cut up. She can't cut them. It's like sometimes a book is just, you just can't bring yourself to tear it apart. But that's what
No.
happens, right? That's the risk you take.
Mhm. And then also too, you know something I learned while making collages too is you learn so much about other things too. Like, when you're looking at these science books, you somehow I start to read things that I
Wow.
otherwise would have never sort of considered.
Yeah.
You get to learn.
And this is very intuitive too, I think, right? I mean, you're just kind of flipping pages and skimming the information and pulling things that call your attention. So there's a little bit of an intuition in that. It's not intentional. It's not, um, there's not a lot of energy and thought put into the beginning search. It's like you said, if it catches you in the first few seconds, you pull it, and then maybe it doesn't make it onto the collage. And I can speak to that process myself. I've had that where you end up with a bunch of colors or pictures or whatnot, just sitting on the side because they looked interesting, but they didn't quite make the grade. They didn't fit into whatever it was that you thought about. So what do you have down there now? You have some overlays, some transparent overlays, and you have a skull. What did you just cut out? A fish?
Yeah, I think it's a tadpole.
Or a tadpole. Okay, we got a tadpole
Yeah, tadpoles.
coming along.
Yeah, coming on too.
Yeah.
Like this is maybe like a bone. I found this bone that seemed really interesting. I guess for the most part, I look at images or like I cut up images that are also too sort of whole, like it's a whole entire image. I don't like cutting images that are just cropped or anything like that. But um,
And then can you talk a little bit maybe about things like, well, like the fundamentals of art, right? Like there's balance and there's composition. And do you think about those things intentionally when you're doing something called collage or anything? I mean, do you think about that?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, recently I've been more interested in, oh no, what, creating more a focal compositions where there's no specific focal point. I think that can be interesting as well, but it's definitely something that I don't really I don't try to build a focal point, I think per se. I just kind of try to make sure everything's sort of kind of asymmetrically composed. Like I try to maybe create it so that things are sort of balanced, visually balanced, to create this visual weight that holds the attention of people. But for the most part, it's more intuitive than
Yeah,
anything
more
else.
intuitive. Yeah, I'm gonna make this big so we can see what you're working on.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna use the restroom. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, does anybody have comments while we wait for Sebastian to come back? That's funny. Maybe I should pause the recording then. Let's see. Here we And then, Annie, do you want to share what you're working on? She's not afraid to do that.
I've only just been grabbing pictures out of so
Oh,
cut
so you're
out
just-
a
oh, I like the kangaroo.
yeah.
Very
Oh,
nice.
So,
Yeah, Annie's in
yeah.
Australia, everyone. That's why it's very early tomorrow over there.
so nice.
Yeah, so that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really
Thanks
neat.
for being here.
Oh, that's really cool that you put
And
that.
Leslie is working along as well. Leslie is in London. Leslie's working along in the UK, London.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah, and it's not quite as late over there now.
a little bit early. I nearly missed it. Had my alarm on for the normal one,
Oh no, yeah, we like
and
to do this one
luckily,
at
I checked my emails.
a different time. We like to, I like to keep it interesting, keep you on your
Yeah.
toes.
Definitely been great so far.
Good, excellent.
And
Thank you.
Annie, I'm working in a book, an old book.
Oh, and thank you, Aiko, for being here. Thank you. Aiko's leaving. Hope to see you again. You're working in an old book.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. Can we see?
Yeah. Hang on a
Let's-
sec.
I'm gonna spotlight you. Let's see what you got.
What might be? Discovered my new favorite tool, which is this.
Oh, a paintbrush, but a
No,
nice.
it's rubber,
Oh, it's rubber.
and you can smooth out glue and bubbles and stuff. It makes
Oh,
it
I
like if
love
you're putting tissue paper down, it makes it so it's transparent.
Love that.
Old book.
Yeah.
Oh,
The standard comic rector. Okay.
And I'm working inside it, straight onto the pages.
Oh, that looks great. Love that.
mm,
Look,
Excellent. And now
silver
you
pen
Oh,
and
yeah.
masking tape,
Ah, shiny
Mm.
pen. Is it silver or gold? It's silver.
silver.
And a
like that.
masking tape. It is
It's a
amazing.
liquid chrome pen,
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
and
Nice.
then so it's actually metallic.
I see.
I like it.
Amazon.
I love that Amazon, I tell you.
Thank you.
So, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
No problems.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
I-
So,
I-
all kinds of things to look at.
Yeah. So, oh,
All right. Oh, I lost your phone, Sebastian.
no, it's okay. No worries. So
Is it-
I just
Is it still playing? Is it still on?
yeah,
Oh,
I
there
can
it is. I see it. I see it. I'm gonna put it back on spotlight.
no, it's okay. I'm gonna grab
Oh,
a
you move things around.
So I poured some paint, acrylic paint. I like to just kind of spread the paint. I don't know, it's sort of like they
Ah,
can
that's
use
your,
that
like-
as glue too.
That's like your signature color. That green.
Nice saturated color, so I kind of just want to spread it. Maybe remove all the
Did you say you're gonna use that like glue?
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
yeah. You just have to be very careful when you're gluing the paper onto the canvas because it will get on top of the image. But yeah, something like this. Oops. Let me try to spread the paint.
You need a thicker brush. You need that thing that Leslie has.
I like to kind of keep the brush marks though. I like the
Yeah.
like I like when it's kind of uneven brush marks.
Yeah.
The brushiness of it, the mark making. I really try to at least have that somewhat present. Like with the mark making.
Yeah.
I really like it for some reason. Especially when it you have very sort of silver transition. This way. Let me go ahead and start cleaning my skull. I'll just like layer my skull on top here.
With that eye in it. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, see? Oh, I got something. But I use that to kind of blend in maybe at the edges if I don't want
Hmm.
to.
Okay, Giselle. Yep, Giselle's gonna go home now. Thanks for being here.
Giselle, have a good rest of your day. And they want to include maybe the slim here.
And this one goes for an hour and a half, so we're on till 6:30 Eastern.
It's like Basquiat, like very Basquiat kind of
There you
thing.
go.
But nonetheless, so I guess it
You like
should
that
did
chair.
some things around. Like I didn't keep it true to how I had it before, but that's
Mhm.
good. Kind of like when you see through the negative space of the image.
Set up my collage materials.
Just kind of, so it's like very intuitive. I don't really. That's why. And I kind of like the finish of it too. Like the, I don't know if you can tell, it's like glossy. I love that. And then you just press it and it just kind of makes these interesting. So I think what it is with these images kind of compiled together. I like when it's like a square, it breaks the composition, the organic shapes, and then you have a square. I really kind of gravitate towards that for some reason. Or not, but
I really do like the green paint in the back.
thank you. Yeah, kind of worked well for this page for some reason, but that's good. Okay. I actually bought 3 canvases, so this was one. But you can do it on paper too, or any surface you find works just fine. I like this arrow here. Go ahead and put this arrow.
Mhm.
Oh, the catapult. Not sure what that. I guess the eye is like very strong. Like a emphasis is emphasized. Even though I try to not really emphasize certain areas, it just happens sometimes, but I try to embrace that. Collage was used in the script. Oops. Was used by Dada and Surrealist to activate the subconscious. So you can think about it in those terms as well. What is it? What you start to choose, start to sort of speak a narrative or language. It's creative, just creative play. It's just nothing. It's like where you start off, right? You don't want, like you said, you don't want any rules or anything like that. You just want to jump into it. I can find it to be a good tool to sort of be creative and not really hold yourself sort of restricted by anything. I don't know. So that's why I kind of like collage. Arrows. I love arrows. Oh my God, look at these arrows here. I like when things like pointing, like road maps or things like that also. Like that. So like these sort of shapes, simple shapes. Very nice, simple shapes. Into extravagant. Oh, circle. There's so neat. Have more books. Let me grab some more books. Okay. See, it's not able to see. These don't have a whole lot of visual images. And sometimes they do not a whole lot, but there's something. Maybe we could inspire something else. It's all about scavenging for the right image. And you can make paper. Like I think if you like, I don't know if anybody's made paper before, but you can recycle these and make paper. Recycle them and make for the most part, not all of them. Sure. Sorry. More books in there. Books. Let's see. The camera. Oh, I like that. Interesting. Put that camera. Like that. Perfect. It's out there. It's like this brain illustration. So maybe hold on to that. I think I'm just gonna cut the eyes. So
You know, it's funny, sometimes I get pages of images and I really can't imagine what to use them for, but I guess the truth is you just have to look at stuff in a different way. You know?
yeah. You just have to go with your gut instinct sometimes. You just gotta, you know.
Like I'll just flip over things. I mean, you've been in my studio. I have so many books and so many magazines. And sometimes I just flip over pages without really looking at them or thinking about them. And I guess like I would never think like what you're doing right now, I would never think to do that.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, it's just things that I don't know. I just like gravitate to, I like the being exact and like controlling the blade and moving it around. I almost feel like I'm painting to some extent. I think
Mm,
kind of carving something or drawing, I guess, to be more precise. Drawing, I think.
yeah, that's true.
Drawing, just removing things.
I am always fascinated by what people come up with, you know? I mean, I think that's one of the things I love about just art and artists in general, just the things we come up with.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So you think there's potential for so much to sort of
Yeah.
so just put that up first. I don't know, something about vision and looking, observation. Like, I don't want to include that. I don't know, with the camera. And then the eyeballs. And for some reason I just oh, this one's clean. Just gravitate towards it, towards the symbols.
Mhm.
But just this black and white stuff here. I don't know, it's like algorithms or something like that, like language. This is a good exercise too to develop your understanding of what you sort of gravitate towards. Maybe you can start talking about it in your you know, artist statement or your biography. I think it helps to loosen you up to potential for meaning, for finding things and meaning, something about that.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Putting a collage of things that interest you and trying to develop a statement. I guess that's, yeah, because it's the images that kind of draw you, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, for the most part, definitely. And I also like landscape books about
Yeah, I guess people, well, I don't know. I guess people's bookshelves say a lot about them. But I have a lot of different books.
photography.
Like behind us, we have artist books behind us. These are just the artist resource books. Nice. Nice.
Got some cool images.
Yeah.
It's, oh no, my
What?
screen just went down.
Oh, we still see you. Oh, maybe, oh, we lost you. Uh-oh. Maybe his computer died. Uh-oh, maybe we finish early tonight. Let me see. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think his computer died. I hear you.
Hear me?
Did your computer die?
Oh, yes, not sure what happened here.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
not sure what happened. So, yeah, sure, it just turned back. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. I hope your computer is okay.
Yes, it's back home.
Okay.
Back
Wow.
on. Yeah, so, oops. Fortunately, but we still have what, 6:18, so we still have 4 minutes left. But yeah,
Couple of
we had-
minutes left, so,
mm,
yeah, that's good.
let's see.
This works. Oh. It's not. Yeah. Oh, now you're frozen. Well,
Hold on, let me just see
I
if
think-
everybody-
I think we're gonna call it a night, Sebastian. I think the technology is no longer our friend.
Yes, too.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Oh, I can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. But you're frozen. Now he's gone. Oh, there we are. All right, well, I think we're gonna say good night. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Well,
Well, thank you, everyone.
yeah. Cheers to you, Leslie. Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone. Appreciate your time and your attention. Technology gave out on us in the end, but if you would like to share what you made tonight, you can tag collaboARTive. That would be great. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Sebastian.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take
Bye
care.
bye, Riley.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.